Hello, I'm Damien Roos, and welcome to the QUICKSPIN Cycling Digest. If you're new here, this is simply a quick spin around the world of cycling over the last week. And I'm going to start with a paper that I came across it's really interesting because it's based around caffeine and performance. And if you've been around cycling for any amount of time, you will know that this is widely studied and there are some pretty solid recommendations made off the back of the science that's been done around this. But what this new paper does, it's add some nuance to this. It's saying that not everybody will get the impact from the regular recommendations that are made. So just jumping into this here, it's around this genotype, this CYP1A2. Now, of course, I've got no idea exactly what this is, but my understanding is that it breaks down into, there's three different types of metabolizers. There's fast, medium, and slow, or fast, intermediate, and slow. And so they did a meta-analysis looking at the papers that have reported on this, and the interesting thing here is it's so fascinating with what they found, because they found that the fast metabolizers experienced a small performance enhancing effect. The intermediate metabolizers experienced a very small performance enhancing effect. And then the slow metabolizers experienced a small performance decreasing effect that is nuanced by timing and dosage. So dosage has always kind of been around this 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. And the timing is recommended 60 minutes before you need it. So if you're in a road race, it's 3 hours, you're taking it, in the second hour leading into the end, if that's what your aim is. This recommends that you go all the way up to the 6 milligrams. And so you have the maximum dose that's recommended, so 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. And then you have it 100 to 120 minutes before you need it. So that nuance is really interesting. And the thing is, I don't know if you are a fast, intermediate, or slow metabolizer. There is probably a way to get this tested, but I'm not 100% sure. But it really does raise this point that any study you read on anything really is kind of a jumping off point. And then you have to go out and experiment from there. You have to find if the results will suit you from there. And that really is kind of the crux of what science is offering you. And if they come along later and they say like science like this, like there are certain people that get a negative effect from it, then it definitely shows that you need to put in some work to make sure that what you're taking is going to help you and not actually harm your performance. All right, let's jump into some products. There's a whole bunch of products around hydration, and it is a bit topical for me because I've got a lot of athletes going into summer, and in summer you're going to sweat a lot. And this idea of sodium replacement, which I did a deep dive recently, and sodium replacement isn't something that is shown to be effective in the science, but it's still around. So this sensor itself is trying to pick up whether you are, what's coming out of your system. It's like, how much are you sweating? And then what is the makeup of that sweat? So sweat loss tracker, sweat rate tracker, and then sodium and potassium losses. So you can see the makeup of what is actually coming out. And, ideally you would probably get this in real time, or at least afterwards, so you know if you are a salty sweater or whatever, and then you can replace during the ride. But the interesting thing that I saw is that they are not offering this thing that they're calling H-drop sweat zones. So a new feature that allows you to understand your hydration in an easy, intuitive way during exercise. It's a tool to help you stay aware of your status, complement your hydration strategy, and be more prepared. So they've got three here: the concentrated zone, and this zone indicates that your sweat has less water and more salt, and it could mean that you might not be drinking enough plain water. So it's really effective, I think, for if it was real time and there was notice that certain things were missing. These are really actionable, which I think is really useful. And what wearables need, they need action, and especially action when it's needed and it will be most effective. But the target zone, This is designed where the concentration of salts and the volume of your sweat are balanced, indicating that your sweat levels are within your regular range, and then the diluted zone that you may be having too much water, which I think is just as important as this side. But having these sweat zones, I think, is a really interesting idea. I'm just kind of raising this as a product to potentially check out. Of course, I haven't done any testing, or I don't actually know any athletes that are using it, but I love sort of digging in and seeing what the latest tech on this side is kind of doing. Outside of that, we have Velo reporting that they spotted a group set from TRP. The OGs of brakes. TRP have been around forever, now stepping into the wireless group set game, which is kind of interesting. I think their lever is, looks pretty standard. Generally, I hate when it's super bulky, but it doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty refined for a first effort. So it's one to keep an eye on. Generally, as far as the group sets that are coming in, I don't actually see as much penetration into the market as you would expect by, I'm sure they're spending heaps of money to get these up and going, but it just seems that the classic brands are still the ones that people prefer. And so, again, this will be another experiment in seeing whether if people get everything they want, so an electric gravel group set, will they convert? Is anybody willing to convert? If we keep moving on to products here, we can see that there's a whole bunch of new stuff. Let's just roll through this on Road CC. Of course, SRAM Access Red, books, who cares about books? Hammerhead 3, I have the Hammerhead 2, and I actually really, really dig it. So the 3 can only be better, but it actually isn't everybody's preference. I've had people that bought them and basically thrown them in the bin because they don't like them. So we just get some more ranges. We get some alternative ways to pump up your tire. All right, so not much happening in the world of products from this side. We do have some new Aero socks. I remember when I first came across Aero socks and I recommended them to somebody because they were making some solid actual improvements. Now, all Aero claims, you can kind of take with a grain of salt. 2017 was the first one, but they're saying, okay, save a massive 24 watts of drag compared to bare shaved legs. That is a massive gain. We don't know the context that this was put into. But Defeat, stepping up, they've been around a long time, so stepping up with some Aero socks is pretty cool. And, they have subtle branding. And if they stay up because they've got some grippers, then why not? I am all for Aero socks, even though I don't own a pair. This one on Cycling News caught my eye, and it's called High Bar, and it is this helmet strap, this big white helmet strap here. There's an aftermarket helmet strap and it has space on the side here. Zoom in on that. No. And it's kind of, the real issue is, and here's a couple of things. Okay, strap loose. It's trying to answer or solve a problem around just bad habits, basically, because the bike strap helmet itself, like even Formula One drivers still just use a classic system. Anybody on a motorbike helmet still just uses a classic system. So why would you need one on a bicycle helmet? And it really would come down to habit, being more secure when you ride it. Yes, of course, you look at this thing and it looks really funky and I've seen worse things actually get better traction as far as looking good. Like, just look at these sunglasses. But as far as whether it's really needed and the price is going to go on top of a helmet, I really think it starts to get a bit too expensive for what it does when it really is just a habit thing. And I'm kind of guessing, that's what they came up with here. Low value, Okay, so it gets a higher grade here for safety. Hard to quantify this against wearing straps, given that it reduces the risk of wearing something badly. It must score well, but the suggestion that you loosen it on climbs comes with risks. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Design and aesthetics. Functionally, it's designed well and plays nicely with glasses. Aesthetically, however, this guy was getting slammed a lot. And, it's pretty clear cyclists have a pretty narrow definition in certain circles of what cool is. So, like I said, this thing, I've seen worse things get traction, but I find that would actually probably be the big thing from hindering us from getting picked up. And so I don't know. I don't know if it's really answering a problem that is something that people are really needing to solve. And that's our quick spin around the world of cycling. Ride well, and I'll catch you next time.